I'm Simmons Chase with synthetic.com, and I'm pleased to introduce Lee Rodne of LTR Pharma. Before we get started, I'd like to remind listeners and viewers that this is not investment advice, that you should seek a professional when investing in companies like Lee's, and you shouldn't rely on anything we've said. This should just be a starting place for your own due diligence. So Lee is here to discuss his company's first-in-class, rapid onset, on-demand therapeutic nasal spray for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. And listeners at Synthetic know that I focus on team, TAM, and novelty. And when I talked to Lee about a month ago, all three of these dimensions were far exceeded. And one, just to start off, one particular point I'd like to make is that I think you have three accelerated paths to commercialization. Is that right, Lee?
Yes, we have numerous accelerated paths that we're pursuing, so we can get into that a little bit more if you want right now.
Just proceed.
Yeah,
So why don't you just, well, there was a recent
yeah.
capital raise.
So
There's all
for
kind of news around the story.
yeah, so certainly we've successfully raised 10.5 million just a few days ago with some small cap healthcare investors. So that we were very excited to welcome those institutions on our register as shareholders. We've had, and that raise was heavily oversubscribed, so a lot of interest in investing in our company from that institutional, that funds perspective, as well as high nets and professional investors. Uh, we have, our accelerated pathways. First off and foremost is in the U.S. with the 505(b)(2) pathway. That pathway governs a change of route of administration to an approved drug. So our drug has already been approved for the treatment of erectile dysfunction in oral form, and we're changing, and our IP is around changing that oral form to nasal spray formulation so that it remains soluble and it has that increased in absorption rate through the nasal cavities to be a fast acting on demand type of treatment for erectile dysfunction. So that's a unique differentiator in the marketplace, and it's a high unmet need. In addition, in other markets like in Australia right now, we expect prescriptions in the coming quarter. So doctors to be able to prescribe this product in the coming quarter through what's called a special access scheme. So that gives doctors the ability to prescribe medicines before they're fully approved, and if they meet an unmet need, and if they can benefit their patients, and certainly our product as a fast acting on demand nasal spray is an unmet need because again, the tablets like Viagra and Cialis and those types of tablets have to go through your digestive system before they get into the bloodstream. So they take up to an hour to work, and some of those tablets are less effective when you have food in your stomach because the drugs have to go through your stomach and your liver before they're processed into your bloodstream. So men stop purchasing those tablets in the first year. So it's a because of the time that it takes to for effect, and so we were very fast.
So let me mention that you're talking about the PDE5s.
That's right.
The most people would usually associate that with Viagra, but it's actually a whole class of drugs. And your therapy is actually one of those PDE5s, and you acquired the rights to commercialize a nasal form of this drug. So your recent trial in Australia was a bioequivalency trial. And in those trials, you mainly focus on safety because the underlying drug has already been approved, and you can use that prior approval to support a much faster path to commercialization.
Yeah, that's correct. So Viagra was the first treatment in oral forms, oral tablets to get onto market. So it is considered, most people recognize this erectile dysfunction market as a Viagra market. It's probably the best known brand out there. But there's four class of drugs, four similar types of drugs like Viagra, and they're called PDE5s. And we're using one of those PDE5s that has actually higher efficacy, so it's more potent than Viagra and the other PDE5s that are on market. So that's a really key thing is that our drug has already been approved for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. So we that's really de-risked our offering to the market and to investors because our drug, we don't have to prove that our drug works because it's already been gone through all the phases of development and been on market for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. And as you noted, we just completed our pharmacokinetic clinical study showing, and it's really designed to show that the time that it takes to get to the max concentration into the bloodstream, so the onset of action, is really extremely fast. We believe that we have the world's fastest PD5 treatment, so Viagra-like treatment coming to market. We showed that the time that it takes to get to max concentration with our nasal spray was averaged at 12 minutes. So, and it's important that's to get to max concentration. So we believe that it's effective within 10 minutes. And versus the oral tablets, the average time it took was 56 minutes, but the longest was 2.5 hours. So for men, waiting 2.5 hours is just a no-go for when you want to have sexual activity with a partner, and let alone an hour that is the average for the tablets.
So much faster action. And I know that the dosage is much lower, so you get the same result without a lot of the side effects.
Yeah, we get the same result because we don't go through our delivery is not through the stomach or the liver. We're a much more efficient delivery process through the nasal cavities. So through the blood vessels, through the nasal cavities, right into the bloodstream. So because we're much more efficient, we use half the dose than the comparable oral tablets, and we expect to see less side effects. And certainly that's what we saw in our clinical studies to date. And there was in our clinical studies there was one dropout, and that was on the arm with the tablets, and that individual unfortunately had some dizziness, some stomach aches, and some vomiting, which is not unheard of with the tablets because they have to go through the stomach and the liver, and that can be a very tough environment for certain men to have to take drugs through that route. And so we bypass those routes, and we use about half the drug than the comparable tablets, and so we expect a higher and improved safety profile.
So that study was conducted in Australia. Tell me, how was it powered? I think, as I
Yeah.
recall, is it a crossover trial? It was a crossover trial.
It was a direct crossover trial. And it was powered to meet the FDA guidelines of a pharmacokinetic bioequivalence type of study. And because it was a direct crossover, so half the participants in the study came in. The first day was fasting. It was a fasted study, and then the second day, half the participants took our nasal spray, and then the following 24 hours, bloods were drawn to show how much drug was entered into the bloodstream. But the other half of that arm took the tablets that are approved on market. And then they crossed over. So another fasting day, and then the participants that took our nasal spray took the tablets, and vice versa. And so we got a direct comparison with the same participants on the time of action and the safety regarding our nasal spray product versus the tablet. So it's a very exciting program study for us.
I'd say because you can imagine the focus that other companies have probably put on developing a similar therapy. And I know Pfizer tried to do this. I came across a patent that I think was associated with Pfizer, but they were never able to commercialize the nasal version of sildenafil. I think they had technical problems like crystallization, or they just couldn't get it across the line, and that patent ended up expiring.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. So, sildenafil, so is the drug behind the Viagra brand, and that's been known to crystallize when it gets into a liquid form, such as a nasal spray solution. So it's a very challenging drug to keep soluble and to be able to use and utilize as a fast nasal spray product. And our IP is around keeping those PD5s. In our case, it's vardenafil, which is the brand names are Levitra and Staxin. But our IP is around keeping that PD5 in a soluble state and for increased absorption through the nasal cavities. So to get that fast acting on demand type of treatment for erectile dysfunction. And so we are the first and only nasal spray product coming to market, and because of the challenges with sildenafil and Viagra, in that tends to crystallize, as you say, so it becomes hardened. We believe that we are the only new branded PD5 coming to the marketplace. So it's a very strong position to be in.
Now that is remarkable. That's novelty.
Yes,
And
that
so
is.
one of the three pathways to commercialization is unique to Australia. It's called the Special Access Scheme.
Yes,
And I noticed in your capital raise, one of the uses of funds is to build a direct-to-consumer website. I think I'm right in that.
yes,
And that's
yes,
exciting because I suspect that you're going to get a lot of organic lift and demand for this product because of word
yes.
of mouth.
Yep. Word of mouth and men in general. So it's a very common issue, erectile dysfunction, and it's only growing. So, off the bat, we say, 40% of men around the world have erectile dysfunction, but as you age, it's higher. So once you reach the age of 45 years and older, 60% of men experience erectile dysfunction. So it's a very, very large number. But doctors are also starting to see a lot younger patients as well, so in their 20s and late teens, due to a variety of things, but other medications is causing it. So, men that are on hair loss, to slow that hair loss progression, those drugs are known to cause erectile dysfunction. Even the weight loss drugs that have taken the world by storm uh, are known to cause erectile dysfunction. So the more people that are on weight loss drugs, the more people are getting erectile dysfunction. So it's a massive market that's growing. So we expect, that take up once we get on market to be very, very good and very, very strong, because men are looking for a new, better, and faster Viagra-like product, and they're just not getting it with the current tablets on marketplace.
So the TAM you're aiming for is known and large.
Yes,
And I'd like to add that I think it's driven by metabolic disease too, which
yes,
um, is growing everywhere in the world. It's growing. GLP-1 seem to be making a small dent, but it's going to take a long time
yes.
for that very expensive drug to make an impact on ED.
That's correct. I mean, we're seeing, a large growth in erectile dysfunction across the globe, and knowing that the tablets, so the Viagra-like tablets, are the first line treatments and the gold standard treatments on market, but 50% of men stop purchasing those because it takes up to an hour to work, and when you have food in your stomach, they're not really effective. So, we're coming into market into that large global market with a fast acting on demand product where it works within, 10 minutes, and it doesn't have a food effect. So men can go out and have a good meal, a good dinner, a good lunch, et cetera, with their partners. and still take our product and have it be effective. So that's a very unique offering that we're bringing to market where men can rely on.
So normally you'd look at how these first PDE5 drugs ramped when they came to market. But in your case, it's different because something has changed, something big has changed, and that is direct to consumer
That's right.
and telemedicine.
Yes. So, groups have been educating the market and, very strongly in that direct to consumer and telemedicine and men's health websites. So there's a number of them that are on market now where they're selling direct to consumer. So it really makes it much more easier, much more efficient for men to get drugs for erectile dysfunction. Um, so you can go onto these websites, you can get diagnosed. Sometimes, a lot of times, you don't even have to speak to a doctor. It's all can be done through chat on an online. So on the other side of that website, there's a prescribing doctor that can diagnose men for ED and and then either send them out a prescription or send them out the product themselves. So that's the wave of the future for these drugs. And we're going to position ourselves to tap into that online sales channel through those direct to consumer routes because it just makes so much sense these days to give men that access and that efficiency to get our product.
Do you have any idea um, what your sales might be? Or, I mean, it's never been done before, obviously, so it's somewhat of a guess, but I mean, is it going to be meaningful run rate by the end of the year, assuming you launch, you know, in the next month or so? Or
Yeah, so we're gonna launch, but we're gonna do it in a controlled fashion to begin with. So in the Australian market, using the top men's health
Mhm.
doctors, um, and uh, um, and that way that provides us with those KOLs, so key opinion leaders in the space and in men's health space, are the ones that publish their work and they go out to international conferences, speak about their experiences with the product.
Yes.
So we're going to do a very targeted initial phase of our launch through those key opinion leaders and that are internationally recognized and will be speaking about our product to international conferences. So really, over the first quarter, that's what we're going to be focused on, and then post that and post our direct to consumer website being built. We expect some more significant revenues in early 2025 through that process.
Okay, very soon. Good. And then I know you have been planning uh, an application for approval with the FDA.
Yes. Yep, that's very exciting to us. Again, we believe that we have the world's best data for PDE5 in terms of fast acting and on demand, and that's really where the unmet need is for men. The drugs have been proven to be safe and that they work already in oral form, and we're just changing the route of administration to a nasal spray delivery. That's where our IP comes in. But we'll be meeting with the FDA in the coming quarter to go over our clinical data that we just from our recent clinical study, and we certainly hope that the FDA will agree with us that that's very strong data and allow us to expedite our FDA new drug application in early to mid 2025.
But this is not going to be the traditional multi-phase trial. You're talking about a 505(b)(2) bioequivalency trial.
That's right. So we it's because the drug itself has already gone through all the phases of development. So phase one, phase two, phase threes. It's already been on market. So because we're utilizing that same compound, same drug, we can rely on that safety and efficacy data of that drug with our FDA submission because we're it is the same drug, but our technology and our IP is around changing that from that raw API into from an oral form to a nasal formulation. So we're able to utilize that drug's safety and efficacy data through those clinical trials that through those, particularly those phase 3 trials that it's already gone through in our new drug application with the FDA.
Wow. So I guess that would probably you'd accomplish that in 2005. What's the
Yes.
typical timeline for something like that?
Well, the FDA does, I think, have the right, I think, to take up to 9 months to review that new drug application. But hopefully, this will be a very straight-lined process for the FDA and then will be streamlined. So we hope that it'll be a review period of around 6 months in that process
Wow.
as we file that NDA. So very, very fast in terms of new drug applications entering with the FDA compared to your traditional new drug application that can take up to 10 years and obviously very expensive for other drugs that haven't been approved before.
And so I mentioned there are three pathways. The special access scheme in Australia is for drugs that are not approved yet, but you will your trial was a pivotal trial in Australia, right? So you should get full approval at some point in
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah. So we're doing it simultaneously. So we're while we and so while we get prescriptions and sales happening through the special access program, we are also going through the full regulatory process in Australia. It's just like similar to the U.S. and we'll be doing that in other markets too, in Europe and in Asian countries and South America. But those are the U.S. market being the largest market in the world, and for these types of drugs, and Australia, we're publicly listed in Australia, and it has access to those early sales through the special access program. So those are our two top markets that we're focusing on first, and but we'll be seeking full regulatory approval in other markets as well.
Wow, it's just remarkable because it's so rare to come across a story like yours. So your PK is de-risked. Now you
Yes.
have, I think I'd estimate 13 million Australian dollars in the bank, which I'm thinking will get you through US
Yes.
approval. And
Yes.
I'm sure you must be thinking US listing at some point, right?
Yeah, yeah, certainly there's a lot of appetite for an interest from our side and as well as from our investor groups in a US listing. So as we uh, get closer to the market and in the US market, we think that makes a lot of sense. We think this resonates with a lot of investors, this story. It hits home for a lot of people. It's easy to understand and the market need is really easy to understand as well, and so we think that will resonate very very strongly in the U.S. market. So we will be pursuing that U.S. listing.
Yeah, so obviously the US market I think is the single largest, and the TAM is about $6 billion, right?
That's right. Yeah, $6 billion market. And that men are where you have it's a very interesting market where the gold standard first line treatments 50% of men stop purchasing it because of the time that it takes like the Viagra types of products, the time that it takes to have an effect is long, and again, when you have food in your stomach, they're less effective. So we're entering that $6 billion market with a product that overcomes those issues. That's a fact. We are the only fast acting on demand type of product company, that's coming to market. So feel very, very strongly in that market entry, and that it's going to be a very positive thing for people that suffer from erectile
Yeah.
dysfunction.
Wow. And so your pricing, I think, is going to be similar to the existing therapies, right?
That's right. So we'll definitely, I think will be less costly than the branded Viagra. So that's still kind of expensive, some of the branded X's, but
Yep.
those products have gone generic as well. So we might be a bit higher than the generics, but not too much. Because is our processing technology at scale is pretty it's not an we're not talking nuclear medicine here, so it's not costly to get our solution, processed for scale up as a nasal spray product. So we're quite excited to get into the market at a price level that will be attractive to men, looking for that fast on demand type of product.
Yeah, I suspect there are probably hundreds of millions of men who would recognize the benefits of your product probably within about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of easy to it's simple to understand. Do you want to have to wait an hour or 2 hours? Versus 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes. So it's pretty simple. And then as well as do you want to be really worried about what you've eaten before? So with the tablets, you have to worry about what you've ate and when you've last ate. So it's a because you don't really want food in your stomach when you take those tablets. Whereas our product, you can go and enjoy a good meal, and still um, have a product with a nasal spray that works for erectile dysfunction, no matter what's in your stomach.
Wow, I love
It's
the
a pretty simple
story,
offering.
Lee. It's such a great story.
Yeah,
Um, and I know this company was spun out of another medical. It was some type of medical company. So you and your team have experience commercializing products like this, right?
that's right. So we worked with a group of researchers in this erectile dysfunction sector in out of California, and we spun it out of another medical business that actually commercializes medical products and has a strong track record of selling and bringing products to market. But this one is such a differentiator, market differentiator that it deserves to be on its own uh,
I'd say yes.
trajectory. So it's a very unique product with special attributes, and there's nothing like it that's on the market now. There's no fast acting product with our that can match our time to effect. So we're pretty excited to get this to market as a standalone.
Okay, did I miss anything, Lee?
I don't think so. I think we're going to have a very exciting couple quarters ahead. The top men's health specialists, internationally recognized, are going to start prescribing this product. We're quite confident in that in the coming quarter. And then meeting with the FDA regulatory agencies, and then looking at a U.S. listing possibility for 2025 as well. So we're going to have a very exciting few quarters ahead. And so appreciate you following us and your listeners following us.
Okay. Good luck, Lee. Maybe we'll catch up again in the near future.
Okay, appreciate it, Simmons.
Bye.